All right. Hello, hello. I'm Stephanie Strange, and I talk about the paranormal, true crime, and pulp culture. I wanted to touch base on something that I saw circulating on the internet, on my TikTok. It was on my For You page a lot. And I have a special guest with me today that I definitely wanted to introduce you guys to. She is great. And I'm going to hand it over to you.
What's up? Hey, I'm Marina Lopez, no relation to any famous Lopez's. Foreshadow. I am a video acquisitions producer with BuzzFeed, which is where I met our Stephanie. I really like pop culture. I love history. I love anything spooky. I am a certified spokesperson myself. And yeah. I'm gonna hand it back to you, Stephanie.
Yeah, no worries. So, again, me and Marina are going to talk about Jennifer Lopez. There has been a lot of interesting things circulating about her.
Yes.
Interesting, cringy, whatever you guys want to think. But like, how do we feel about Jennifer Lopez? Like, do we love her? Do we like her?
We're over her. We're literally over her. Listen, I'm so happy for her. Love what she's done. Give me the name of her doctor. Not her primary physician, but we all know what I'm talking about. But at the same, I'm a big believer in moving forward, not moving backwards. So when she got back with Ben, I was just like,
oh yes. I had so many mixed feelings because I'm like, what is going on here? And like, people have definitely speculated that that might be like, fake or whatever. Like they're just doing it for attention. Like, what is it called? PR relationship.
Yeah.
That maybe that's what could get them to stay relevant under the spotlight.
I don't think it is. I don't think it is. I think it's that they're just lonely.
I mean, like, I think people, but one thing I'm noticing, like, while you and I may feel like, okay, let's move on, let's move forward. And personally, for me, through my experiences, like, I don't recommend dating an ex. That's just me. But people love it. Like, I feel like people love, like, people have been speculating, even side note, on like Brad Pitt and Jennifer Aniston. Like, you know what I mean? It's just people really like seeing couples that they have not gotten over. And like the most cringy one too, like I know people are gonna be mad about this, but like Justin Bieber, like people still wish Justin Bieber and Selena Gomez would get back together. I'm like, come on, you're toxic. You're toxic for wanting that. Let it go. I'm happy for Selena. I love seeing her be independent, do her thing, be drama free, like get rid of that like gross. Like I just feel like I'm all for women anyone in general, empowering themselves, being single, finding themselves, and then finding someone in a healthy relationship. That's just me.
No, I think the reason why we want Brad and Jen is because there's such like a nostalgia to it. And also we kind of want to see him crawl back to her after how he did her dirty. And kind of the same with Justin, but at the same time, I think it's really like a nostalgia. It harkens back to when we were kids, but at the same time, like developmentally, I hate to say it, Justin Bieber, I wouldn't be surprised if he still is kind of stuck there developmentally. And it's lovely to see Selena really just come into her own as like a woman, a grown ass woman.
Yes, no, seriously, 100%. And like, definitely not trying to like diss Justin. Like, I mean, we're only seeing what we see in the public eye, but like for me personally, when someone jumps from relationship to relationship, I'm like, there's something there. There's some growth that you need to do. There's some like self-reflection that you need to do. And like even with like Jennifer, like back to like Jennifer and Ben Affleck, like I'm thinking to myself, like even when they were the it, like I guess I don't know, I'm gonna say it because some people never thought they were the it couple. They were just wanting to be it. It's kind of like Megan Fox and Machine Gun Kelly, how right now people are paying attention to them, and then there's like Courtney and Travis. You know what I mean? Like or like how Kim wanted in on that by dating Pete Davidson. Like I think there's people that see couples get into the spotlight, so they want something to be under the spotlight and follow a trend. Like couples being in a relationship or being that type of couple isn't it thing. You know what I mean? I don't know. I just find that really interesting. I definitely think that Jennifer Lopez and Ben Affleck did that for a little bit. Okay, so we're gonna get segue into like the TikTok incident or just any viral incident. Well, no, what am I saying? TikTok, anywhere that you can like literally access social media. They were talking about how like allegedly, we're just gonna say allegedly, Jennifer Lopez fired a particular zodiac sign. Now, for record, Marina and I are very heavily air signs. Do you want to share what you are?
I am. Wait, do you want to do it at the same time? Like 1, 2, 3, sun and moon. You ready?
Yes.
1, 2, 3. Libra. Wait, let's take it back. Say it back one more time. Should we? All right. Do you think everybody gets it?
We can try one more time. We can try.
All right.
1.
Uno, dos, tres.
Libra. So, and I know that like some people will hear that and be like, wow, you're a basic air sign. And I'm a basic Libra. I'm literally Libra, sun and moon, and I'm an Aquarius rising. I'm basic air AF. And I acknowledge that. Right. So when I heard this, that definitely piqued my ears because I have mixed feelings about earth signs. So we're gonna get into this before people get all pissy about this. I'm gonna definitely say that I don't look at people by their signs, but I've had weird coincidences with certain signs. So anyway, she fired a particular zodiac sign from the dancing crew. And I believe, let me pull up her name. I just had the article, but it was the girl from Glee, mentioned Jennifer Lopez, because she had like friends or whatever.
Oh, Brittany, what's her face, right? The blonde one who played Brittany.
Yes. Okay. So it was, and I'm going to read this from an article called Wonderwall. So basically, former Glee star Heather Morris claims that Jennifer Lopez cut candidates from backup dancers of a dance gig based on their astrological sign. And basically what had happened is that Jennifer Lopez walked into a room and said, she asked everyone who were Virgos and then whispered to her assistant. And then they said, thank you so much. You guys have worked so hard, but, based on the show of hands, if there's any Virgos in the room, let us know. And then they were all cut. Now, I'm kind of like taken back by that, because in a way I'm like, dang, what is she? What's her sign? And I don't know, like I personally feel like Virgos, it's a very common sign. I think I've heard that Virgos and Scorpios, right, are common. I could be wrong. I could be very wrong with this.
Common for what? That's the question. What are they common for?
Like
or
a
just
lot of
in
people,
general?
yeah, like there are a lot of like Virgos and Scorpios or something like that. I don't know.
You got to think about it where people were or like at what time of the year people were doing it. It's like, New Year's babies or New Year's conceived babies are Virgos typically, and then Valentine's Day is Scorpios.
Yes.
I'm President's Day, baby.
I don't even want to think about it, to be honest with you. I try to block that out of like when I was conceived. I'm like, please no. I don't want to think about it.
Babes, you probably were also President's Day. I mean, we're double Libras, so it's probably around the same time.
Well, I do know that my mom and my dad, like they have both, like, so my dad's birthday is May 15th. My mom's is April 16th. And then my birthday is October 16th. So like, I don't want to think about it. So anyway, but yeah, so like, I find that super interesting, right? Because like for context, I feel like I don't care if you're really into astrology, you all have that one sign that you're like, I hate that sign. I hate that sign. And I've heard Geminis, like a lot of people I've met, they don't like Geminis. A lot of people I've met don't like Scorpios. And for me personally, if I were to summarize it, which I don't, I try not to, I try to be open-minded, but hear me out. When I look at like the harshest fallouts and harshest like situations I've had, it's been with Capricorn, which is a earth sign. Then it's Taurus, which is another earth sign. Virgos, it's 50-50, right? I had best friends that are Virgos. My husband's a Virgo rising, whatever. But yeah. What about you?
I'm over here dying. I'm sorry, because it's like, I totally get it. I feel like as air signs, we just inherently disappoint or like butt heads with everybody. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, it's like, we love fire signs, like, but I totally get what you're talking about. I feel like I always disappoint water signs. And yet at the same time, like, I've also butt heads with earth signs, but at the same time, as air signs, we literally are meant to balance everybody else out. We complement everybody else. I will say my mother is a Virgo. I will say that, isn't it like there are more Virgo serial killers than anyone else, like any other sign.
I think it's like Pisces or Virgo or something like that.
Yeah. And I think that, like, the only way I can rationalize, I do support, but I can rationalize her decision, Jennifer Lopez's decision to cut Virgos, is, here's the thing, is if they were Virgo, they must have been some good dancers, to be honest, because those Virgos are always, they are perfectionists and they are on point. So she must really have like a serious vendetta against Virgos to cut some, what were probably very strong dancers. But like, that's the thing, is like, Virgos can be pretty uppity. They can be pretty passive aggressive. It's their world that we're in. And it's about them. And I think that's the only way that I think I can rationalize her making that decision. Like I said, I do support it. But
I mean, like, yeah, because like I feel like and it's funny because like as an air sign, I am actually very much always inspired, and I do admire the ambition, the perfectionist, the stability that earth signs carry with themselves. Like, you know, when I say that, I say earlier about like Capricorns and Tauruses, it's like, I butt heads, but it's not that I dislike the sign altogether. It's more of like, I realize like I disappoint them somehow. I don't know how, I don't know what or how, but it does happen. And, you know, I think that especially Libra, right? I think we are meant to balance, especially like any sign in general. Like, we're very balanced, we can get along with people, but we have a hard time like kind of going with other people's flow, because we're not supposed to be stable. We're supposed to be like creative, collective. We're supposed to do that. And I think for like earth signs, like when I think of balance things out, there's no way you can balance an earth sign. They're literally the sign of the earth. Like, how do you balance an earth? Like, you know what I mean?
I like to think of it as almost like picturing the elements and how they interact. Like, with the water, like we cool off the water, like we blow, you know, the storm blows, but then also again, at the same time, like water and air has a beautiful potential together. Air literally fuels the fire, like the fire warms the air, you know? And, but with earth, like I always just picture like the wind blowing leaves. And in a sense, that's just like, think about it, that's like messing things up.
Yes.
So that's how I rationalize, I keep using that word, but that's how I think of the interactions between the different elemental signs.
I love that. No, that's beautiful. And so now we're going to get into like, you know, what her signs. Okay. So this is like kind of like a really rough copy of it, because like I don't think a lot of people really know what she is. So what some people have gathered, what they think she is a Leo sun. Oh my God, fire and earth, definitely not complementary, especially sun. A Leo is like the face of attention, and Virgo is like the face of perfectionism. Like, oh my God, the clash there, right? And we're just kind of talking about allegedly thinking if she were to let go of people because of like not being complimentary, right? But we're going to get into other options too, so bear with us on this. Now, it is said that she is a Libra rising. That's what people think she is. And she has a Scorpio moon. Yeah.
I don't know. To me, all that tracks. That all tracks to me. I'm like, yeah, I could see that. Because, you know, like Kim K is she's also a Libra.
Yeah.
And so like I feel like they both, I mean, this is what I've noticed. This is my personal opinion about us, anything Libra in the big three, is that we're very alluring, we're very sexy. There's something about us. There's something very womanly about us. There's something that I think without even trying, we just end up pulling people in. And I think that if J-Lo's rising is Libra, that makes so much sense to me, because she comes off as like somebody who is there to, yes, be the center of attention, but she feels like she compliments it feels like I don't want to say compliments. Oh my gosh, I don't want to like give dead air on this.
She's like, But I think when I think of her as a Leo and a Leo sun and a a Libra rising, I think that she's like the face of beauty. Like if you think about it, like she was the it girl with like, and she pushed the bar on everything, whether it was being Selena for like the movie Selena, like that is such a Leo but Libra thing. Selena stands
Mhm.
for beauty, empowerment, and femininity. Like I just think that that's, a thing. Also her music, she was like literally like the face of, and I know some people don't like hearing this, but in a way, for me, at least as a kid seeing this in the 90s, she was a face of like the Latino community. And I think whether people agree with it or not, she was. And I think that's such a Leo and a Libra thing because it's the face of something,
Mhm.
aesthetics. And really, when they thought of Jennifer Lopez, or they thought of the Latino community, that's what they thought of right away was Jennifer Lopez. So, the
Mhm.
face of something, the beauty of something, the structure of something, but then she's also the center of something, which is the Leo sun in my mind.
Mhm.
Whereas a Scorpio is creativity. Man, she's done it all: music, dance, acting. Like, I
Mhm.
mean, I'm not saying she's good at everything. I'm just saying that she's done it all. Like, I'm giving,
Mhm.
that's a different topic, whether what she's good or not good at. I'm not going to go there with people because people also like to bring that up. But what I am saying is that she is definitely creative. Like, those three signs are the face of creativity and perfectionism in my mind, but in a different way than Virgo.
Mhm.
Um, so that's interesting, right? But again,
Mhm.
we don't know if she's a Libra rising. So before people get all mad about it, this is all just make believe, guys.
This is
um,
all allegedly.
yeah, and we're not like experts by any means. We're just kind of speculating what we know on this. But like we said, Leo and Libra are not compatible with Virgo. Now the other thing though is that people have perhaps said that her husband, Mark Anthony, was, and that's one of her longest relationships, might I add, was a Virgo. So maybe there's a thing with that. It just keeps getting interesting with this, not only are we touching based on what she potentially is, like her big three, but now we're talking about her longest relationship, Mark Anthony. Um, so I don't know. What are your thoughts on that? Like, could you see someone being like, my ex?
100%. 100%. 100%. Yes. Yes. I fully support it even more now because, well, also they work together. And so she probably worked with him, realized what she didn't like about working with him, and was like, I'm gonna blame this on him being a Virgo and us not, and not just on him being poopy. I don't
But
know.
no, yeah, I mean, like that's what I thought too, right? Now that we like touched base on like, the idea of perhaps, maybe the reason why Miss JLo here let go of Virgos is like, maybe a salty relationship with an ex. Maybe it's her signs and she's might have had bad run-ins with Virgos, who knows? But then like let's talk about like the actual positive, right? Because that I don't want to leave that out either. So like there was an article that thought that maybe perhaps, and we want to practice positive intent here, is that when they were going on tour, it might have fallen on the Virgo season. So maybe she didn't want to take time away from that and focus on letting go and letting people take time off, dance rehearsals, or any of that for their birthdays. And that's probably why she asked them if they were Virgos. Like that's what someone else was mentioning. I'm like, that's an interesting take. Who knows? I mean, I
I mean, at the same time, I support. I get it. Honestly, like that's also a pretty freaking rational reason. That is a really good reason. That's really practical. It's probably like I have silly reasons of like why I wouldn't date certain guys.
I think like I've definitely, I think what I will say is I've heard people mention many reasons of why they like, I remember like a couple years ago, I heard someone say, I could never alone date, like, not that I'm into astrology, this is what this person said. I'm not into
Yeah.
astrology, but like I've heard of like not wanting to date someone that has like the same birthday as their mom because like then that would be a conflict or something. Or like
Yes.
I've actually heard people say things like that. So it's I mean, that's a new one that what you just said, but at the same time, it's like I've heard many reasons why people like I would never want to date this or like a certain profession because I know that that's not what I want with a life work balance or whatever. And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, that's so interesting. I mean, like I said, I think there's a number of reasons why people don't date people. And the one with the birthday though, that one really got me. I was like, well,
I mean, that's really specific. That's
exactly.
really, really specific. Like that's that's like, oh my gosh. I mean, but that's really only who are you going to eliminate with that one? Only a couple people probably, you know, not an entire, not half the studio room of Virgos.
I mean, now I'm gonna keep a part of me though. Like, I want to like now go into this whole thing and be like, all right, what have the signs of all her partners been? Because now
I do that constantly.
like this has made my like I'm literally clinically OCD, so it has made me my little clinically OCD get into the habit of like what, or not habit, but like now like ticking away of like what have the signs been of her boyfriends or her partners. Like, does she have friends that are Virgos? Like this, I have to now ask, how many, is there family members that are Virgos in her life? Are they friends that she has that are Virgos? Like, other than just Mark Anthony, like I'm now just curious. And but also like, I want to think about like Heather Morris too. Like, she's an interesting one too, though, because like some people could easily be like, well, Heather Morris, she hasn't really been on anything, not anything notable. She's been known for Glee, but like, what else do we know her from? Maybe she's just saying this to get a reaction. And
she was, I will say this, sorry, this is the one thing, because I was a big Glee person, but I also think that like what people don't realize is that when you work in entertainment, especially as someone like she is, like she's always been a dancer, which is why she's coming to us with this information. And like, even though she was on Glee, like that was never her like main path. Like she was always going to be a dancer, and she's been on multiple tours. I think she was with Katy Perry for a while there. I was really into So You Think You Could Dance. So like I would see like random people from So You Think You Can Dance, like on all these tours, like on these performances and Gaga's performances. And so like you could make the argument it's for clout, but I do not think that it is for clout, because we would see her a lot more, you know?
Yeah, I think that like, and even when they were talking about who was the other cast member from Glee. It was gosh, what was her name?
Leah Michelle.
Yes, Leah Michelle. She like they all did. It's interesting about that one because I feel like she did say something, but it wasn't to like the extent that this is happening. But I also think that a lot of people said a lot of things about Leah Michelle. We could make a whole different episode on Leah Michelle.
Yeah, right. Actually, she can read. She can read.
I'm that one is just keep showing up on my like sneaking into my For You page. I'm like, okay, I'm done with this debate. But I just feel like that, you know what I mean? Like I've only heard her say maybe a couple of commentaries like Leah Michelle in this. Like I haven't really heard her come out of the neck of the woods for anything else. And I think you're right. I think we would have heard more from her because there was a lot of tea that happened on that set of Glee. There's a lot of things, like people even said it was like the cursed Glee set or something like that. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, with all the tea and all the tragedies that happened with a lot of the cast members, I wouldn't be surprised. And I think that she would have said something even then. So, and she hasn't really. I mean, I think she's been pretty diplomatic and, pretty chill with everything. So, okay, so now I just want to segue into something else though. So, we talked about the Virgo thing. We talked about, her relationships. But then the other thing that I find super interesting is that there was an article a while back, I believe it was like, oh gosh, 2011. But apparently she ran into some accusations of witchcraft. And so this was the article. I pulled up an article. It's wmagazine.com. And it's like a list of celebrities accused of witchcraft. And I just want to like focus more on Jennifer Lopez, but there's an interesting list here. But it says that Jennifer Lopez, even though she's very creative, she's done a lot of different things. There was actually someone that accused her of like being involved with a sort of black magic. So it says here that in 2011, a Spanish media outlet said that there was like suspicious Santeria accusations stemming from a woman who was dating Jennifer Lopez's first husband. Onahi Noah, sorry if I said that wrong, said that I've been told she does the worst frightening stuff. Jennifer has a godmother in Miami, which I never met. But Ohani, is that how her husband's name? I should have Ohani or Johnny. I'm just gonna say Ohani because like Jay, yeah. But anyway, but basically Ohani knows her and she calls this woman to tell her, do this to this person, put up a black candle, etc. She's also done spells on her boyfriend, said the woman. It's a typical thing for anybody involved in Santeria, but even with all that, she ends up leaving them. So I guess like it's this is all alleged, but it's interesting because like on top of doing black magic, she's done also like magic on her boyfriends. What are your thoughts in general of that? Like, I mean,
I think so. So you know, like I'm not really super connected to my like Latin heritage. I am and I'm not like I just didn't grow up in like a Latin culture, so I don't have that connection to Santeria, but I I have been always fascinated by the occult, by mysticism, by just different practices of like, for lack of a better term, witchcraft, of magic. I think I was telling you even before we were recording, I was like, oh yeah, I have tarot cards, I have a couple spell books. And I just want to say how narcissistic of like the men in her lives thinking, or at least her first husband thinking that, oh, she put a spell on me. Like, if anything, there's so many, if she was doing magic about you, bro, it was probably to cut ties. Like, that's why you're not there anymore. That's like, that's my view on it. I'm just saying, like black candles, like what you do is you actually like, I know that there's one practice where you have two black candles next to each other and you tie them and you let them burn so that the tie between you are represented by one candle and your partner that you're trying to rid yourself of, and you break the tie. And so I'm just like, that's, to me, that's like, that would make sense. That would track. And if anything, you think that she's going to do magic about you, if anything, honey, she's going to do magic to be able to succeed. Like, there are rumors that and this is all like alleged, this is like stuff that I've seen, like there are people that think that Kanye literally sacrificed his mother.
what?
Yeah, like they're like, yeah, that's why he like blew up like he did after Donda died. And I'm just like, okay, firstly, that's really messed up.
Yeah.
That's like a major accusation to make. But there is a huge suspicion of people who become massively successful in Hollywood, in the entertainment industry, and how they don't do it. They can't have done it just naturally, that there must have been some sort of sacrifice. And I do understand the logic. I think that you do need to make sacrifices to be able to get to the level that they're at. And I think a lot of them have like sacrificed parts of their psyche to be able to connect. But and who knows, maybe they've done some stuff, some witchcraft. I know that Azalea Banks, something with her cat, I think she like ended up making a necklace out of her cat's bones. Like, it was like circa 2013, I think. I remember being in college and reading like, I think the Daily Mail, and like this was during one of her times that she was really going off the deep end on some stuff. But yeah, it was pretty messed up. And so I think that I don't think that she did witchcraft on any of the men. I think that if she's going to do witchcraft, she's only going to do it for personal gain.
Yeah, I mean, like, and that's the thing too, right? Like the fact that she said black candle, isn't that to neutralize and dispel negative energy? Like, come on.
Yeah.
So, and I understand though, like in some forms, and I'm not going to speak for everybody or anything like that, but what I am saying is that I've heard people that have practiced Santeria tell me straight up that black is like a bad color to wear, and they don't believe in anything good from that. So there might be a sector, I don't know, I'm not a specialist, I'm not an expert, but I have heard some people that do practice it say that to me, because I used to wear black for work. And they're like, why are you wearing all black? That's not a good color, blah, blah, blah. And like, you know, they talk about the thing. Now, I don't think it's all a Santeria, but what I will say is that most people know that black is to neutralize energy, but who knows? Like I said, I don't want people to get mad at me and be like, you're blah, blah, blah. No, I'm just saying, like, there's this version of things and then there's this version of things. And I think it's very, like you said, it's very narcissistic to be like, oh, she put a spell on me, that's why I fell for her. Like, what kind of garbage is that? Like, if anything, I think that is someone, like, when you look at her journey and you see her like rise to fame, and like even back then, I think that it's interesting because like fame held a different weight than it does now. I think now, because we are so readily accessible to each other online, it's different. Whereas like and I'm not saying it's vastly different, but there's a lot of people that, at least in the 90s, in my opinion, there was less nepotism going on in Hollywood. I mean, there was and there wasn't. There was, like, when it comes
I think
to,
it
like,
wasn't as, I don't think it was as trackable. We're able to track it so much more. Like Fonda, like there are so many people who we look back and we're like, oh my God, like Melanie Griffith, like there are so many people, and there are a lot of people that you don't realize were nepotism for years until recently. But like, as someone, I'm going to admit it, as someone who has benefited from associative nepotism, where my dad had a lot of friends and I basically was able to get my start in entertainment because of that. I got a lot of internship opportunities because of that. Like, you kind of are able to see, like, oh, it's everywhere. It's not just in front of the camera. It's literally this entire town is run on that. And so, sorry, I cut you off.
No, you're good. I love this. This is great. No, you're good. That was very interesting. Yeah, I think that, you're right. It could be that too. I just think in general. So, like, my initial thought too is that with Jennifer Lopez going into the way she did with, like, fame and her start and her career, and in a way being, like, on a mainstream level, maybe perhaps, like, seemingly the first of things. I'll just say seemingly the first of things, because, like, I'm sure there was other people, the many first of many things, but people were trying to paint her the first of many things. And I can only imagine what that does to your psyche, to your mental health. I don't, people are not meant to handle fame so rapid. I don't even think fame in general, but, like, rapidly like that. I could only imagine, like, yeah, you would want to turn to some form of, like, spirituality, witchcraft. You would want to turn to some extra help, whatever that may be, whether it's, lighting a candle, talking to someone that does witchcraft, Santeria specifically, or whether it's someone that wants to do manifestation and retreat. I don't know, but people do these things all the time. And you see this in Hollywood, where people literally, like, are into the crystal fad. Whether I actually think they believe in it or not, who knows? But I feel like there's so many fads to, like, try to find a healthy vice through spirituality. And I don't know. I just think that I could see that with her. And I also think that I know so many people in the Latina community that, like, we know someone that does some form of brujeria. And, like, I just don't think that's so unknown. Like, I don't know. Like, that's just me.
I think that as someone who I think always had an interest in this, but specifically really started, I guess you could say, lightly practicing it when I came to terms with, like, the religious trauma that I had. And I think that that's what a lot of people in our generation, and even like previous generations, like Gen X, like, I feel like they're left with this gaping hole that they have to fill. And so they fill it with, maybe witchcraft or a new religion. And especially when people come to fame, when they come to LA, when they come to New York, when they're in this business, their former spirituality doesn't necessarily fit, which is why, like, I grew up Mormon, and, like, oh my gosh, the way that the Mormon community really holds on to like Mormon celebrities, right? But then you kind of realize that those Mormon celebrities, they make the choice of whether to continue on into their fame and continue on in, like, living their lives, or to do what they can within the bounds of their religion. And so I think that that's why people, like, form their own spirituality, especially here. It's really subjective, because also there are a lot of questionable religious establishments that take advantage of celebrities. So I almost want to say, like, if J-Lo is actually practicing some form of, like, Santeria, I almost applaud her, because then she's, like, not, maybe she, this is all alleged, but, like, I would view it as, like, okay, great. She's not getting into bed with the, like, metaphorically speaking, with, like, what is it, Hillsong, like the people of Hillsong. Do you know about Hillsong? That's the one that Justin Bieber was a part of, and like they ended up being super corrupt.
Oh, I didn't know about that.
Oh my gosh, there's a whole documentary on Discovery Plus. Yeah, it's amazing. Yes, you do. But actually, my manager at BuzzFeed, she saw Justin Bieber live, and he brought out the preacher from Hillsong and like let him just do a talk. And Justin Bieber just like was like crying the entire time. And my manager, Sarah, she's like, yeah, it was really weird. Like, and so I'm just saying, like, is like, this is like this is the spectrum of spirituality here. And I think that if J-Lo is going to be criticized for possibly being involved in witchcraft or Santeria or anything, like, good for her. Does that make sense?
Yes, because to some degree too, I think, especially 2011, I truly, even like now though, but like more now, less that, I'm sorry, how do I word this? I feel like more than anything back then than now, because I feel like people are becoming more accepting of like spirituality with like witchcraft and all of that now, at least to some degree. Like, I mean, whether it's a aesthetic, that's another controversy in itself, right? But what I will say is that I almost feel like, you know, especially when it comes to media and how they talk about people of color and how people express their spirituality, I could definitely see them say it was evil. It's like, well, no, because like, you know, we have these conversations about like Santeria or in general, like how in a way it has been veiled or masked through the religion of being a Catholic. And you know, I do see this, like my mom, side note, was also Mormon, and she is Mormon now. However, she grew up as a Catholic, and, you know, we would light up candles. We would do offerings for certain saints. She does that less now, but she still has some candles. And I think that like, if, again, allegedly, if Jennifer Lopez did go to someone and had like a black candle, I think that it's like, well, how do we know that there's a difference between like actually practicing Santeria versus like just practicing something that is a cultural thing? And I just don't think back then they would really be appreciative of people of color, especially like, when Jennifer Lopez was kind of like a face of like Latina culture in a way. I just don't think they would be as understanding back then as perhaps maybe more people are more readily available to talk about now because of social media and everything. Because part of me, when I hear this and I read about like, you know, she might have gone to someone and did some spells or got a candle, it's like, how do we know she's just not practicing like a Catholic thing, a spirituality? Or how do we know like maybe someone's just like, oh, you know, you need to debrief from all this energy, that like negative energy around you. Let me give you a candle. And like, I've done that. I know I've had people who care about me. I've had mentors who cared about me in the community of my spiritual community. And they're like, hey, you know, you're going through a lot. Why don't you light like a white candle and like relax, meditate, do some creative outlets. Like, but that's not freaking witchcraft. I mean, I'm sure it is witchcraft, but not on a level that people think of it on a mainstream level, if that makes sense. Like, I think, because that's a whole different thing. Like, what does witchcraft mean?
Well, I also think this is another like debate. It's kind of this giant question that I have my answer to it. I don't see, and I think I'm just going to start with that, is like, I don't see practicing witchcraft as a way of calling upon any other power than what other people are calling upon. Like people automatically think that witchcraft is something to do with the devil, with like just some other like demonic presence, like dark entities, when historically it has never been that. It was made to be seen as that by these giant institutions.
Yes.
And in my head, I just like had Schmidt from New Girl go, a white man. Like, just because I was just like, the white man's religion came through and was just like, oh, like, I'm gonna demonize anything that might take away from the power that I have. But like when I read my tarot, I don't think it's any different what the energy that I am exchanging with. I do not see that as any different than what my mom calls upon when she does her prayers at night.
Yeah. No, I've heard of that too. I've heard people say that like when people do their spirituality or they practice witchcraft, because like, and that's another thing too, right? Like I think witchcraft is so intricate. It's so complex. It's not just like a one-way street. There's so many different sectors within witchcraft. There's so many cultural significance within witchcraft on a global level that it's so naive and ignorant to say all witchcraft deals with is devils or bad entities. And I just think that that's just not how it works. And I think because I've gone to there's like a, they call it an occult store, but like they sell witchcraft books, candles, rocks, whatever, crystals, and all that stuff. I've gone there because I love their little necklaces, and I was like, I want to get my evil eye bracelet, or I want to get the, like my little bracelets for things. And like I remember him telling me like people don't realize like one of the people that worked at the shop, they're like, people don't realize that like a tea bag can literally aid to spells. Like even drinking tea is literally a type of spell work if you really put your mind to it and structure it as so. And I'm like, interesting, like it's so much more accessible than what people think. And that's why like in a way, like I learned through that also by watching people practice their form of Catholicisms and their candles and their offerings and all that. And like, at least in my upbringing, and then go from like, oh, but if you do this is actually bad. I'm like, but what's the difference? I want to know what's the difference. What is the difference here? And so yeah, I mean, like I said, we can go down the rabbit hole with this and talk nonstop about this, but I just wanted to simplify it with that. And like, I'll be doing a poll too on my Instagram on like what people think about what could be the reason why Jennifer Lopez did this. I would love to hear people's thoughts personally. But I mean, I just want to just re-emphasize that I just think that this is interesting. Like Jennifer Lopez is an interesting character than what people lead on. Am I saying she's a saint? Am I saying she's the best? No, I'm just saying that like
Are you saying that she's Jenny from the block? I'm just kidding.
I mean, mate, that was also controversial back then too. They're like,
have you heard the theories that she's actually not? It's like that she actually doesn't sing her own songs.
I have heard that too. Yes.
This is okay. That's a whole different thing though.
Yeah. I just there again, like she is an interesting character for so many reasons because like, again, Ben and Jennifer, what? Okay. Virgo, witchcraft. Like I'm just like, dang, this person has a lot of interesting things that people want to talk about regarding her. And anyway, but this was a really fascinating conversation. So in general, I just want to say, do I think that, or do we think that Jennifer fired people for being Virgos?
Yes. I want to believe it.
I think I would love to think on like, okay, I could see her firing people or allegedly letting go people for like the season, I suppose. But on the other hand,
ooh, this is where I am going to come in and be like, my work experience this, my work experience that. As a former personal assistant of somebody who is nowhere near the fame of J-Lo, and the amount of stupid reasons for things, I guarantee you, I feel like there is definitely something to this claim because it would surprise you, the stupidest stuff, because I feel like when you get, especially when you are in the spotlight like that, there is so close. If you feel like there's any threat to you not being the center of attention, you get vicious.
I could see that. I mean, I think that like through being in the space of like meeting other content creators, or through the space of just in general, like meeting people who want to be actresses, actors, having a lot of followers online, I do see the nitpicking and the meticulous things that people get caught up on that I never even thought. I mean, in recent times, I've heard people tell me that I don't want to do ABC because I want to be taken seriously, and they have their own definition of that, or maybe their agent or their talent management team I have told them that. I'm like, I never in a million years thought about that, but that's interesting that there's this stigma of whatever, right? And so yes, I do see that. I've also been told, like when I was living in Denver, I was told that like you don't want to stay in Denver if you want to pursue what you're pursuing, because out of sight, out of mind. And I think that was very interesting because I had an email for an audition to host on a YouTube channel, and they're like, do you live in LA? I'm like, at the time I was like, yeah, I live in LA because I had just moved out here. And they're like, great, because if you didn't, like, I wouldn't even consider you. Like, this was after the conversation too, continuing the conversation after my audition and everything. And I was like, wow, okay. So even just like the simple, you don't live here, I don't care, moving on, even though the job would be remotely or something like that, right? It's interesting how people can be really cutthroat. So yeah, I that's an interesting, that I like that you pointed that out. That's really interesting. It puts it in perspective.
Mhm.
But yeah, so I'm going to end off the note with saying, what do we think after everything is said? I'm going to ask now the listener audience, like, what do you guys think of Jennifer after everything is said and done? Do you like her? Do you hate her? Are you over her? I'm going to do another poll on this too, because polls are fun and I like to hear what you guys have to say, because you already know what we think. We already had this conversation. I want to know what you guys think. So, all right, I'm going to end this off. So thank you guys for tuning in, and stay strange. Keep an eye out. Keep an eye out. Geez, keep an eye out for my stuff on this episode on my Instagrams, TikTok, and I'm also posting on YouTube, but mostly, what I just said. All right, till next time, guys. Be strange.